There are many ways to teach and reinforce pro-social behavior. It's important to remember, though, that we should strive to use research-based instructional strategies when we do so. In this video, we will look at some research-based interventions that you can use on your own and how you can use or modify commercially produced products that include research-based interventions. I will highlight some commercial products. You can find links to them on your Canvas page, but if you're interested in anything shown here and want more information that you don't see, please don't hesitate to contact me. These are some research-based instructional techniques that teachers should use when teaching social skills. It is important to remember that when you teach a social skill, there are two types of knowledge involved. First, you must be sure the student has the basic understanding of the skill, the declarative knowledge. Does the student know the steps to perform the skill? Are they memorized? Next, does the student understand the skill? Does he have the procedural knowledge needed to perform the skill? For example, he may know that in order to greet someone, he looks the person in the eye, says hi, and smiles. But in real-life situation, he may never greet others. Perhaps he can perform the skill in contrived settings like the classroom when you role-play with him, but he's unable to generalize the skill. That is, he doesn't know when to greet others, whom to greet, or how to greet on the playground as opposed to the classroom, or how to greet a peer as opposed to a parent, a teacher, a doctor, etc. Most students on the spectrum need to have concepts taught explicitly. They will not catch on to a skill without direct instruction. When beginning to teach a social skill, follow these steps. First, define the skill. Do a task analysis. Break the skill down into discrete steps. For example, greeting others may consist of 3 steps. First, look at the person. Second, smile. Third, say hi. Next, model the skill for the student. You may need to narrate your actions as you model. Third, provide a rationale for the student to learn the skill. Establish a need. Why should he learn it? How will his life be better for learning the skill? The student will need to role-play the skill with you or others. He will need some sort of performance feedback. Perhaps you will do this in a small group setting and the feedback will come from other students. Perhaps you will give feedback in the form of verbal praise or even a tangible reward. The last steps are probably the most important and the most difficult, and they consist of generalization. While memorization of the steps might be relatively easy for the students on the autism spectrum due to their typically good memorization skills, the procedural knowledge needed to generalize a skill is much more difficult. Remember that a significant challenge for individuals on the spectrum is perspective taking, theory of mind skills. How can they know when to perform a certain skill when it is so difficult for them to put themselves in another's shoes? Video modeling, setting up the environment so that the student will have multiple opportunities to practice, and repetition are some ways that we can help with generalization. Here's a cute example of breaking down a skill by analyzing the task and then creating a visual that you might give to students or hang in your classroom. This is a crucial part of developing a social skills lesson. There are many commercial products available to help you teach social skills. Some, like Skillstreaming, have already picked out the most commonly needed social skills and have broken them down into discrete steps. Many provide guidance to help you teach the skills in a direct instruction format. When teaching social skills to students on the spectrum, there is no need to reinvent the wheel. Our time is precious as teachers. If a commercial product is available, is backed up by solid research, and suits your need, by all means use it. Skillstreaming is one of the oldest, most reliable, and simplest of the research-based commercial programs. Here is an example of a resource that comes with the Skillstreaming program. In addition to the book, you can get these cards. They're about half the size of a regular index card, and they're for the student to carry around. They list the steps in the specific social skill that the student is working on. Skill streaming is available in 3 formats: skill streaming in early childhood, skill streaming the elementary child, and skill streaming the adolescent. Here is an example from skill streaming the elementary child. It has 5 sections of specific skills that you can teach that are age appropriate. This section here is called classroom survival skills. Skills for dealing with feelings, alternatives to aggression, and skills for dealing with stress are also included. Role play is essential to include in most social skills lessons. If a student is to successfully perform a skill, then he or she must practice it, receive feedback, and use that feedback to change his or her performance. When you create and deliver your own social skills lesson, in most cases you will want to include role play. Here are the steps to facilitate successful role play. Look on your Canvas page under Resources for this week to see links to examples of teachers using skill streaming and modeling role play. Feedback provides students with information regarding how well his or her performance corresponds to the model that you provided. It encourages students to try the skill in real life. Remember to provide constructive advice that clearly describes what the student did wrong and how to change that performance, in addition to pointing out the good examples that the student did. Sometimes we're reluctant to give feedback that is not praise, but ignoring incorrect role-playing of a social skill is a serious mistake. Feedback offering constructive criticism should be given and needs to be done in a kind and sensitive way, but it must be explicit. It's often helpful to include peer feedback when doing role play. You may need to model what constructive criticism looks like, kind and sensitive criticism, before you have your students give their own feedback to their peers. Simple feedback forms like thumbs up, thumbs down, or response cards are sometimes easier to use than verbal responses for peer feedback. Another popular program is called Second Step. Second Step provides instruction in social and emotional learning with units on skills for learning empathy, emotion management, friendship skills, and problem solving. The early learning program in Second Step also includes a unit for transitioning to kindergarten. Second Step has 3 separate programs. This is Second Step SEL, Social Emotional Learning, for early learning that includes the skills to help with attention, remembering directions, and managing behavior. The kit costs around $450. This is a classroom kit, and it includes a variety of the resources pictured here. Second Step for grades K through 5 features catchy songs, fun games, and other engaging activities that help develop social emotional skills. Children learn how to make friends, manage their emotions, solve problems, and deal with peer pressure. Also available for the K through 5 set are bullying prevention units and child protection units. Online resources and training for the instructor are also included. Second Step for the middle school student is web-based. It's responsive to the needs of today's students and educators and is underpinned by the latest research in adolescent brain development and social psychology. PATHS, Promoting Alternative Thinking Strategies, is a well-respected program used by many Head Starts in our local area. Maybe you've heard of the turtle. PATHS has students learn how to get into the turtle position to help regulate emotions. The whole kit runs about $800. And again, this is a classroom kit, but you can purchase the turtle unit for around $300. I have used and recommend products from Indigo Dreams to help students who are experiencing anxiety, stress, trauma, anger, even sleep issues, and lack of confidence. These are audio recordings that feature unique stories that incorporate breathing, visualizations, muscular relaxation, and positive affirmations. They also have a program for adults. Pictured here you can see there's early childhood for ages 4 to 9, older children ages 6 to 12, and then teens. You can check your Canvas site for sample downloads. These are pretty affordable and could be a good choice if you're on a limited budget. They are useful for teaching self-regulation and relaxation skills. Teachers might play these prior to recess, lunch, or stressful transitions, or at a certain part of their daily routine. Room 14 from LinguaSystems sells for around $60. It's suitable for children in the early grades who have a good grasp on language. The social skills are broken down into discrete steps. It comes with a lot of resources to help you create lesson plans and teach the lesson. Here are some screenshots of the table of contents. You can see that there are 4 different units, and there are many skills that are included in this curriculum. Here is an example of a lesson from room 14. You can see that the program takes a skill, in this case, be a good listener, and breaks it down into discrete steps found on the left side of the page. The lesson includes activities from a student book and from a picture book, as well as a lot of tips, suggestions, and information from your manual. You have here an introduction, which includes a rationale for teaching the skill, goals and tips for preparing the lesson, and a social skills story. This is helpful in creating a parent letter or a lesson plan. For each of the steps in the given skill, there are questions and examples that relate to that specific part of the skill or step in the skill. These are some examples from the student workbook. And this is from the picture book. It's helpful in group responding. These are notes and suggestions for reinforcing the skill with the story from the picture book. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what Room 14 is all about. It runs about $60 for the kit and is suitable for young students up to about grades 4 or possibly 5. This is another product from LinguaSystems. It's also very affordable. This is suitable for students who are in the middle and secondary grades. It addresses skills of communication, values, controlling emotions, problem solving, goal setting, and conflict resolution. It is very easy to use and very practical. I recommend this for older students who might be diagnosed with level 1 autism or Asperger's syndrome. Jed Baker is one of my favorite authors of social skills training materials for learners on the spectrum. This publication, Social Skills Training, is a must-have for teachers who need to work on social skills with students in the elementary grades. It can be modified to use with older students as well. It includes a lot of helpful information for setting up social skills groups, tips on interventions, and 70 skills lessons created specifically for learners with autism or social pragmatic language disorders. These skill lessons are grouped in the following categories: conversational skills, cooperative play skills, friendship management, self-regulation, empathy, and conflict management. It is the author's view that intervention should not focus solely on a child with social skills deficit. Rather, the author believes that the skills should also be taught to typical children who may be ignoring, teasing, or rejecting the child who has communication difficulties. As a result, the last chapter in the book is devoted to sensitivity training for typical peers and incentive programs to promote peer acceptance. This is an indispensable social skills curriculum for parents and professionals. I highly recommend it. This is one of my favorite lessons to teach when I'm teaching social skills because so much hinges on turn taking and asking and answering questions. This is from Jed Baker's Teaching Social Skills book. Here's another favorite from Jed Baker. This is a very valuable resource for anyone working with adolescents or young adults. Chapters 1 through 3 provide an overview of the laws concerning transition, tips on disclosing the diagnosis, and self-awareness. Chapters 4 through 7 discuss deciding on and preparing for college, career, and residential options, as well as targeting and teaching those skills necessary for these processes. Chapter 8 describes acceptance training for peers of persons with level 1 autism and Asperger's syndrome in order to help perceptions and interactions among all individuals. Chapter 9 contains 73 skills that focus on 4 major areas: perspective taking and empathy, use of nonverbal communication, conversation skills, and handling frustration and anxiety. Specific targeted skills include some like respecting personal space, dealing with anger, conversation strategies, advocacy, conducting a job search, interview skills, managing money, and more. The program encourages person-centered goal setting as well as planning and training to help ensure a successful transition to adulthood. Brenda Smith-Miles is another well-known and respected expert in the area of social skills for individuals with autism. She co-authored this book, The Hidden Curriculum. There's also an iPad app called The Hidden Curriculum. The hidden curriculum is the social information that is not directly taught but is assumed that everybody knows. It refers to those unstated rules or customs that, if not understood, can make the world a confusing place and cause those on the spectrum who do not automatically get it to feel isolated and to get into real trouble with authority figures, friends, and even strangers. Whenever you think or say things like, everybody knows, common sense tells you, it's quite obvious that, or I shouldn't have to tell you this, but that is the hidden curriculum. For more information on the hidden curriculum, see the resources on your Canvas page for this week. Teach Me Language, a language manual for children with autism, Asperger's syndrome, and related developmental disorders by Sabrina Freeman. This is a less well-known resource, but it's very helpful for students who have less language than those who would benefit from the books by Baker or Miles. Don't let the publication date deter you from using this resource. It's full of easy-to-use and very practical activities, reproducibles, and lessons for teaching functional verbal language to individuals on the spectrum. Here are just a couple of the many resources that you will find in Teach Me Language. No discussion of social skills would be complete without mentioning social stories developed by Carol Gray. The new Social Stories book contains a ton of social stories that you can use straight from the book or adapt for students that you work with. You probably have already learned about the importance of Carol Gray's work. Social narratives are widely used to help learners understand what is expected in social situations. Some other important resources are A Five is Against the Law by Carrie Dunburn. In fact, Carrie Dunburn has authored a lot of extremely useful information based on the 5-point scale. Her products are affordable and very helpful. Navigating the Social World by Jeanette McAfee and Think Social by Michelle Garcia Winter are both worth having. This is a resource I think you will like. Tuned Into Learning has created about a dozen programs consisting of a manual, a student book, and a CD full of songs to teach social skills and life skills. Music is so powerful for many on the spectrum, and if you've worked with students on the spectrum, I bet you know that already. I use some of these songs as anticipatory sets. Just by playing the song, my students knew it was time for social skills class, and they would come to the circle ready to get started. We all know that students won't learn unless they're motivated to participate. So here are some ideas that can help you boost participation when you're teaching social skills. Think about modifying existing games to review or practice social skills. For example, if you have Jenga and your students like it, write social skills questions or role-play activities on the pieces and make it part of the game. When you're teaching social skills, you're going to have to think about some sort of a hook or anticipatory set, an opening activity, and then some activities to keep everyone in the group motivated if you're working with a small group. I recommend using some sort of response card or even a thumbs up, thumbs down so that the entire group can give feedback on role-playing or answer questions or respond corally. Another nice thing to use, if you go back a few slides and look at the two-question rule, you'll see that when you are asked a question, you need to answer it and then ask the same type of question right back to the person. You can play the two-question rule when you open your group as an icebreaker, a way to get started, a way to start conversations. You may need to use a talking stick. I think you're all familiar with that. The person holding the stick is the only one that can talk. The observation game teaches students to look at each other. It's usually fun for students if you get a box of props like hats and fake noses, glasses, and costume items. Have one student leave the room, put on some of the items, come back for 5 seconds, and then leave. And then when they return, the students have to take turns guessing what was different. It encourages them to look at each other. Students on the spectrum are visual. You're going to need to use visual supports when you teach social skills. And when you do your assignment for this class, you're going to have to provide some visual supports. The next few slides give you some ideas.
Video modeling and video self-modeling are very important tools in social skills training. They are well researched, and you will learn more about these interventions when you complete your online learning module on video modeling. These are two affordable resources that utilize video modeling to teach real-world social skills to middle school and high school students. Manners for the Real World is geared toward high school age students and injects humor into teaching social skills. Model Me Kids is geared toward the later elementary and middle school set, and it focuses more on friendship skills.
Teaching generalization of the skills is an ongoing process. Don't forget to teach in the moment. Catch your students in real-world situations and reinforce or correct social behavior as needed. Think about how you will have your students monitor their own progress, how you will include and support them in the general ed setting. Maybe you'll use reverse inclusion if you teach in a self-contained classroom. Bring in peers from general ed classrooms to your classroom if you're having trouble getting them included. And don't forget to involve the parents.